Hola, Olgi, ¿cómo estás?
Voy a... Bien, aquí.
Bueno, aquí las presento a ambas. Mi niña, Lucía, una de mis adoptadas, y mi querida amiga Olga yo creo que los nenes Nikos tenía como 5 años cuando nos conocimos, ¿no?
Yo
No,
creo que era más chiquito,
Sí, verdad.
justo.
Así es que más de 30.
Sí, era
wow.
chiquitito. Me acuerdo que hay una foto con él y o una o las dos niñas de Mari.
Sí, sí,
They
yo
were,
creo
they
que
were
tienes.
little.
Yeah, they were.
Wow.
So we've known each other forever, and she is the expert in all the bilingualism stuff that you and I do over
I
here.
know, I'm so
Oh,
excited.
thank you.
She has all the real facts and the scientific studies and all that stuff. Ella lo sabe todo.
I love it. I love it. Bueno, mucho gusto, Olga. Un gusto tenerte. Thank
Igualmente.
you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for asking me.
Well, I wanna kind of introduce this topic because we see so many parents every day that
Yeah,
I think still kind of there are misconceptions around this topic, right? So there are so many misconceptions around biliteracy. There are parents that I see all the time that once the child starts, even if they're homeschooling, the child starts learning how to read and they kind of switch to English because they have concerns about whether that's gonna, delay them in language or cause other issues. We also have parents that do it in Spanish and then they think they're not going to be able to transition them to English. And so this is something I'm personally very passionate about and talk a lot about because it's just I feel like it's such an enhancement to bilingualism to be
mhm.
biliterate. And
Oh,
so I think
absolutely.
I find it so important. And so I know there's still a big education piece missing around it. I know we're talking a lot about bilingualism more and more now than we ever did before,
Right.
but I still think this is such a key piece in furthering that bilingualism too and giving our children access to things that they otherwise wouldn't, right? And the written word, which I think carries a lot of our language and the richness of it.
Yeah.
Um, so to get started, I let's start by asking you what is biliteracy, right? And why is it so important?
So, biliteracy is the ability to read and write, right? In any language, right? Well, in two languages, not in any, but in two languages, right? And bilingualism is the ability to listen and speak, right? So when we're looking at wanting our children, in my case, in my case, it was both my children and my students. Um, I wanted them to have it all, right? I wanted them to be able to express themselves, right? And understand Spanish and English, express themselves well in both. But I also wanted them to read and write. And so that's where the biliteracy piece comes in wanting both to be bilingual and biliterate.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super important. I feel like, oh, sorry, I almost hit you there. I feel like it's so, again, so important to remind parents how much of our legacy is in the written word because I feel like we forget so much about that. And I see so many adults now that speak the language, but they don't read it or write it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of like a missing piece, if you will. Like I do feel like they wish they did. I've said the same thing of bilingualism. I see so many adults that are like, my parents spoke Spanish and I wish they had spoken it to me, but didn't. And I feel the same way about this. I feel like it's equally important that our children learn how to read and also, yeah, and also write properly, right? Write con la ortografía correcta and to learn those pieces that really make our language what it is. And I feel like it doesn't have to be anything like incredibly complicated for the parent necessarily.
No.
Um, for us, we kind of fell into Spanish literacy first because we speak Spanish first. Both my kids is their first language, and so because we homeschool all in Spanish, I always knew that they were gonna learn how to read in Spanish first. But tell us a little bit about why you think uh, it's an effective way to start to do it in Spanish.
So, I've been thinking about this question, and because both, again, as a parent and as an educator, right? So, as a parent with my daughters, when they were born, and my daughters are currently 23 and 25, but from the moment they were born, it was my mission, like non negotiable, that my home language was going to be Spanish, because I knew as a teacher, I've worked in the bilingual space over 30 years, and I've worked in a lot of different bilingual programs, types of programs, and I have seen how students that when they enter school speaking Spanish first, once they learn how to speak English, they don't want to speak Spanish anymore, right? And so, so when my daughters were born, I was, like I said, non-negotiable that my home was going to be Spanish only. So if they saw anything on TV, it was the Spanish track of whatever they watched. I was working at the time, you know, in the school, so I had someone come into the house to watch them who spoke Spanish only. And so I was very
intentional.
Oh my gosh, como
I
un poco
never-
exagerada también, you know? Parte un poco exagerada, pero because I even went as far as I would not enroll my girls in a preschool until they were 4, because I wanted those first 4 years to be Spanish first, right? I wanted them to develop a certain level of language in Spanish before I started to let English in. And I didn't have a bilingual option at the time. There's a few now. I live in Long Beach, and there's a few now, but at that time, there was nothing. So
yeah, tampoco cerca. I mean, I had nothing either. I mean, I
Yeah.
was worse than you, and you at least were a teacher, but I wasn't. And in your case too, we should tell the audience that your daughter's father also speaks Spanish.
Oh,
So
that's great.
that
Yes.
might be a little bit more of a difference.
So here's what was interesting about our situation is because their dad is from Chile. I'm mamá puertorriqueña, papá español. And so one of the detallitos en mi casa era, pues, ¿qué español vamos a hablar? Porque el papá a un aguacate le dice palta.
Yeah.
Yo le digo aguacate. And so then I landed on, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. And, you know, and now they can go to their Chilean family functions y hablar como chilenas. Y me las llevo a España con la familia o a Puerto Rico and they adapt.
Se entienden. Yeah.
They just adapt. So, so even in that sense, we each maintained the way we spoke. Nobody, you know, changed that. And so when they entered school, they did enter as English learners because they didn't speak Spanish. And, but my girls did, from kindergarten through 12th grade, they did attend a dual immersion program. But one of the things I just want to get back to, like the home, that I think is really critical and that I tell parents is that it's really important to prioritize Spanish.
Yeah.
When it's home and when it's family and when they're going to learn English. El problema no va a ser el inglés. El problema es que they might go through a period where they might resist Spanish or they don't see the benefit of being bilingual when they're younger. And even my daughter's going through a dual immersion program. They went to school with a lot of students who were English only when they started, and they went through a period where, you know, I was getting a little nervous. But then once they hit high school and beyond, and then they themselves started to see the benefits, then, yeah.
They had it, right? They already had it at that point. O sea, you didn't, right?
They did, yeah.
I feel like everything you've said, todo parece exagerado, right? That we are doing in order to keep the language. I made a post about this recently because it almost seems controversial or, you know, exaggerated. And it's only balancing the scales because English is everywhere. I mean,
exactly.
Even homeschooling in Spanish. I do all the schooling for my son in Spanish, science, math, you name it. And even so, I still find that as he grows, that English is like slipping into my home. I mean, my younger doesn't even speak English, and I still hear my oldest having more and more words that slip in English, and I'm like, no, not happening, not in my house.
But you know, it's really Lucia, I know we've talked about this before, but for the audience here, Olga and I have been talking about this to parents for 30 years. van a aprender el español, el inglés, lo van a aprender. Y todavía, today, with all the resources, all the amazing materials that are out there, for homeschooling and for non-homeschooling, even at schools, there's still the parents that feel that, que se van a confundir, que no van a aprender el inglés. I mean, it's like, I don't know, como que it's tattooed in their heads. I think sometimes it's like, trust me, they will learn the English. I see it on the Facebook communities that you and I belong to, Lucia, over and over. Lo repiten todo el tiempo. Pero es que no van a aprender el inglés. It's like, trust us, they're going to learn it.
Y parte de eso, yo lo entiendo porque ellos quieren que sus hijos tengan éxito.
Yo sé.
They're like, but what I tell the parents whenever I talk to parent groups, and I hear this because it comes up every time. No, maestra, yo me encargo del español en casa. Entonces, la ventaja que yo tuve era que yo también, español vivía en mi casa también, ¿no? Y yo lo que les decía era, yo entiendo lo que me están diciendo, pero lo que yo les voy a decir es que mis hijas en mi casa, yo estando, por ejemplo, en un programa bilingüe, mis hijas en mi casa, nosotras no estamos conversando sobre la energía solar o sobre la Revolución Mexicana o que, ¿sabes lo que te voy a decir? Sí. ¿Hiciste la tarea? Sí. Vámonos al ballet. Tenemos fútbol a la media hora. Hay que comer ahora, a dormir. ¿Sabes? Que es más así. Aunque
casual. No.
Suena como, like I wasn't a good mom. Pero lo que digo es que, lo que yo le digo a los papás, en la escuela, ellas tienen esa oportunidad de desarrollar otro vocabulario que yo siendo maestra, ¿cuándo voy a hacer eso, no? Y les digo, y les estoy diciendo que tampoco pasa en inglés. No se crean que es que en inglés sí, en español no. Nuestras vidas van a 1000. Entonces, para mí, el hecho de empezar con el español en mi casa y luego continuar con el español, ellas fueron a escuelas públicas, era la única opción. Y incluso la pequeña mía tardó para hablar. Y cuando la inscribí en el programa dual en kindergarten, hasta mi familia me criticaron de que cómo iba a ser le iba a hacer eso a ella, que ella ya ha tardado tanto en hablar y que le ha costado tanto y que nada. Yo era como
mission.
Oh no, it was like, this girl will become bilingual if I have to move to Chile for a year so that they learn Spanish well, like I will do whatever I have to do. Yeah. Because the truth is eso, que el inglés, it's everywhere. It's their social language at school, right? It's the language of the playground. It's the language of the cafeteria, even in dual language programs.
¿Cómo se Entonces, no se quieren ver diferentes a los otros chicos, pero tú sabes que yo pienso en eso, chicas. Yo, si lo pudiera hacer de vuelta, yo me hubiese ido a Puerto Rico. Y lo pensé. Yo pensé irme cuando Francesca iba a empezar high school. Yo quería a que ella hiciera el high school con sus primas allá. Y como que me acobardé, I didn't have that confidence. I thought, oh my gosh, but what am I going to do? Pete is here with Nikos. And I should have planned it better. And I think if I had the wherewithal and the resources, I would have done it. Pero I want you to talk a little bit about that reading aspect of it. Why do we feel, because I know the three of us feel this way because of everything that we know, why do we feel that learning to read in Spanish is better, or we should start with Spanish before we start reading in English?
So the way I see it is that we can start in Spanish, right? Like starting in Spanish, because that's the pushback I get, right? That we shouldn't. We should start with English first, right?
Because that's what's everywhere.
And then my argument is no. We can start with Spanish for two reasons. One, it's all about language status. It's what we've been talking about. Because English holds a higher status than Spanish by immersing them in early grades in literacy and Spanish, whether it's at home or at school, wherever it is, by having that focus and developing those decoding skills, right, in particular, in Spanish first, you are giving them tools that transfer to English that they don't have to learn twice. And they can develop a love for story in Spanish and the vocabulary that they're going to learn by being exposed to those Spanish texts, again, is better than what I can provide. Not that I can't provide it, but than what I'm going to provide in conversations, right? And so the other little piece that I have to just say real quickly is that we forget about is that the oral language piece about reading, early reading in particular, when kids are decoding and they're talking about the stories and the characters, is critical. And especially in both languages, but particularly also in Spanish. For them to have those conversations about the character and how did they feel, y qué pasó aquí, qué pasó después, y cuéntamelo a mí, qué fue lo que pasó. Y tener esas conversaciones en español les desarrolla a ellos un nivel de vocabulario que si lo aprenden a hacer primero en inglés, entonces lo van a querer hacer en inglés. ¿No sabes lo que te quiero decir? Y entonces es una cosa que para aprender a... Bueno, there's that, right, what I just said. But then there's the other aspect of the fact that Spanish has a transparent orthography. And, you know, it's like what you see is what you get. And so it's easier to decode. It's easier to decode. It's a syllabic system that's easy to catch on to. And so kids can start decoding very quickly because they don't have to think about it. They don't have to think about any kind of rule or the exceptions or, I mean, the only, you know, challenges and my teacher friends and I call it the special spellings are like, you know, like la C has two sounds, but it does in English too. And G has two sounds and it does in English too. So even that transfers. So to some degree. So I just think that you can get kids into text quicker and talking about those texts and developing that vocabulary quicker and just as effectively in Spanish by doing that first. And when you start to add English reading, they do not have to relearn how to do all of that. They then apply what they already know. So it's como la M es una M en español y en inglés. The sound of the M is the sound of an M.
For us, we saw those early wins really fast, I want to say, because of the syllabic system. So it was like you can move on and move forward, I feel like, quickly in terms of putting a word together. So that confidence definitely builds faster. But the other piece to it, and it's what you're talking about, you said earlier, you know, okay, well, my girls were learning all this stuff in school. I'm like, when I'm talking to them at home, I'm talking to them, now let's go, we gotta move, like you're just speaking. And so I feel like what an amazing way to build that kind of, let's call it parallel vocabulary at home by giving them a book, you know what I mean? When they can read in Spanish at home and kind of like try to, again, like tilt the scales and the balance in favor of Spanish a little bit more. And you don't have to do the heavy lifting because you already did it by teaching them how to read it. Yeah. So I think for those parents that are at home that are starting and they're like, I don't really know where to go because my child's going to go to kindergarten and they're going to be learning in English. Is it possible to learn both at the same time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no reason not to. And you can have those conversations with your child and you can have things like, you know, maybe, you know, if you have a practice of reading each evening, right, before they go to bed and you want to pick a book and you can say, well, you can do 2 books a night if you want, or if, you know, you can alternate, you know, one day it's a Spanish book and another day's an English book. And then you can talk about it with them. Like, and have those conversations with the student, with your child. I always think students, but with your child about, you know, what makes it easier for you? Like, let them even articulate what is, you know, what is it about English that is difficult for you, or is it easier for you in English, you know, and what about Spanish? And if they start to say, no, pero es que no quiero en español, like having those conversations which I had with my daughters. And one of the things I used to emphasize with them was, pero yo quiero que seas bilingüe como yo. Y yo quiero que cuando vayas a Chile tú puedas participar con tu familia, y cuando vayas a Puerto Rico, y cuando vayas a España, y cuando vamos a Miami, mi familia vive en Miami, forget it, I don't even have to leave the country. I mean, I can go to Miami and the environment is so Spanish.
Yes,
Que yo quiero que ustedes sean una parte de la familia total, no totalmente,
no, exacto, no que se quedan
exacto.
afuera.
So, esos mensajes poco a poco, cuando ellas empezaron, porque ellas teniendo mamá y papá que habla español, la casa que yo estrictamente hasta los 4 años era todo en español, programa de inmersión dual, hubo una época que llegaban del colegio y me hablaban en inglés, ya no me querían hablar en español. Pero entonces yo empecé a hacer diferentes cosas como maestra, puse como un poster, like the homework thing I used to use for my kids, and every time you speak Spanish, I'll give you a sticker. For me, none of that worked. For some people it might, but for me it didn't work. What worked for me was the constant message of, but I want you to be like me. But I want you to be bilingual, like I'm bilingual, your dad's bilingual, my siblings are all bilingual, like we have a lot of bilingual members in our family. And I said, you know, I want you to be like us. And so, and when we would go to Miami.
The belonging. Sí.
Yeah, and then we'd go to Miami and you'd go through a supermarket y la señora en el supermercado que te trata con un montón de cariño y mi amor y cariño, no sé qué, y mis hijas salían del supermercado diciendo, I understood what she said, like yo sé lo que ella, you know, and just emphasizing, isn't that amazing?
Eso es lo que me funciona con mi hijo también. Desde chiquito, decirle, imagínate si te hubiera hablado el Señor y no hubieras entendido lo que te dijo.
Sí, mira qué fantástico es.
Exacto, qué padre que entiendas, exactamente.
Mira, en mi salón de clase el último grado que enseñé fue kinder y la mayoría de mis estudiantes estaban aprendiendo español como segundo idioma. Y cuando ellos decían cualquier cosa en español, yo paraba y I would make such a big deal about it. Y les decía, mi corazón se pone tan feliz cuando hablan en español. A lo mejor me dijeron hola, nada más, right? But ese entusiasmo, they could feel it from me, the love of the language. And so it motivated them to use whatever words that they could in Spanish, right? And I feel like with my daughters, it was that same kind of idea of, I love speaking Spanish. I listen to Spanish music, and just emphasizing just how amazing it is to be a bilingual person. That's what worked for me.
I love that.
Someone wrote something. ¿Quieres leerlo, Lucía?
Sí, alguien preguntó, Elena, ahorita vamos a hablar de cómo puedes empezar en casa a enseñar a leer en español. Ahorita vamos a hablar de eso un poquito más adelante. Pero I definitely wanted to ask you, what would you say to parents that are afraid of teaching Spanish before English? Whether they're homeschooling or their child's going to learn how to read in school in English, and so they're afraid they're going to hold them back.
I always start off with, my fear is that they'll lose Spanish. It's not English that I'm afraid of. It's my fear is that they will lose their ability to really express themselves well, even just orally, in Spanish. Eso es lo que me da miedo a mí. Eso es lo que veo yo. Yo lo veo. Entonces, les digo, así es que, y siempre les digo, yo entiendo que quieren que sus hijos tengan éxito. Entiendo que quieren que dominen el inglés. That's a non-negotiable. Of course, our kids need to, you know, be fluent in English and successful and read and write in English. That's not to debate, right? But the problem is that we should value their second language, whichever it is, right? In our case, it's Spanish, just as much. It's just as important that they.
And the environment makes it non-negotiable, truly. I mean, think about it. You're in a dual immersion school, and you're still seeing these patterns, right? Mm-hmm. It becomes a social language. Spanish is still getting lost. Like, imagine in a school, you know, in a regular school system, like there's, you know, it barely stands a chance. So I'm the same way as you, and I'm very passionate about telling parents, like, that's the wrong fear to have, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. Like, the same way children are learning two languages, they learn how to read and write in both languages. They don't get confused. You can do it at home if they're doing something different at school, but like let's go, you know what I mean? It's just so important, and I'm the same.
And there's so,
no,
I was just going to say, and there's so many connections. So when you're talking about Spanish and English, there really are no excuses because there's so many connections between the two languages. And if you're talking about like Mandarin in English, then, I mean, those families even more have to emphasize Mandarin at home, because then the connections to English and is not as, you know, there aren't as many, right? It's not as connected. But I just feel like, I think that idea that the idea that we have to eliminate Spanish to make room for English is what is a false idea. Completely a false idea. The kids can learn both. And let's say your child is enrolled in an English only program. Not everybody has a program that they can, you know, in their neighborhood or their district, or even though they've been growing like crazy. But let's say you don't have that option. Then it's continuing to read at home in Spanish. It's continued to read together in Spanish as well, right? Not just, okay, te toca uno en español. I mean, there may be a day that you say, okay, you read your book because I'm busy or whatever, but to make it a family event and that you do it together, and that you even can start reading aloud chapter books that they're not necessarily ready yet for, but they're listening to that higher level of language, and you can engage in the conversations in Spanish and just emphasize que ahora vamos a hablar en español porque casi siempre hablamos en inglés, o vamos a hablar un ratito en español.
It's funny that you say that about the chapter books, because we read chapter books now. My son's 5.5, almost 6, and we've been reading chapter books for a while. He's a big avid reader. My son will sit for hours and like ojea los libros, ya sabes, lee las palabras que puede y los ojea. And now I see my younger doing that. He was just doing it earlier. It's really cute. But it's interesting because I've always translated the chapter books on the fly, and I say you kind of like grow, your brain as a parent grows into being able to translate on the fly. You get trained from board books all the way up to chapter books, and you really do get the exercise. But a mom told me a few days ago that she actually was Google translating entire chapter books to be able to read them to her kid in Spanish. And I thought that was amazing. Like,
really,
how cool.
well, hey, ChatGPT is your best friend.
How dedicated, like how nice that she was.
I don't know, pero when I'm something, I ask, and then, you know, the way I see it is like, it's not like you're using it to write a book about, you know, or whatever. No, you're not that way. You still are going to be creative, pero a veces uno se estaca en un tema, and then you put it in there, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, the light bulb goes, oh yeah, that's right. And then you go and, you know, develop your own idea or what have you. But that's really interesting that she does that. Wow.
I thought that was like such amazing dedication, because she said, we really like this series, so I've just been translating it and reading it. And I said, how amazing, right? Because some people, you know, might not have the ability, the language, the, you know, or the time to be able to like, or honestly, like sometimes my brain even is scrambled by the end of the day, and I have to translate at the end of the day, and it gets harder progressively throughout the day. But I mean, you can get creative with it, and I feel like it really is possible to instill that in our children and really instill in them the power of the printed word in Spanish. Like, I feel like that's so powerful and important.
And Spanish is so rich in vocabulary. It's not that English isn't, pero no sé, el español. Diferente. Y es diferente la manera que uno se expresa, y it's there's just a richness that's beautiful, and to be able to give that to your children. But something you also said just a minute ago is it really is a commitment as a parent, like 100%, like that non-negotiable kind of, you know, this is going to happen one way or another, because it's so easy for English to to creep in, and then before you know it, because we're bilingual. So like I said, my daughters are 23 and 25 now, and we go back and forth between the languages now, but they're fully bilingual, biliterate now. So
ya tienes más confianza,
ya como que ya cumplí.
Sí.
So
Sí.
ya puedo
I'm so jelly.
expresarme el uno el otro y ellas también. Y a veces la más pequeña se siente un poquito como que like rusty, right? Porque ahora que es mayor y en el campo en que ella trabaja y todo, no habla español.
Yeah.
So, and
Pero
now,
te pasa como adulto, honestly.
Exactamente.
Yeah.
So
But now it's up to
no pasa
them.
nada.
It's up to them now to like kind of carry the torch and really make that choice for themselves.
Yeah.
But when they're young and they don't understand its value, it really is up to us to carry that weight. And I talk about it all the time because it is heavy sometimes when, and you have your husband that speaks Spanish, that's amazing. My husband speaks English, and I feel like, to be the only parent carrying it is even heavier, and you just feel like
Absolutely.
it's you against the world, including in your home, So, I mean, that's amazing that they've kind of come out the other side, and now they're able to want that for themselves. You know what I mean? That's great.
Yeah, and in those moments, I say, but eso no pasa nada. Como digo yo, te vas a Chile un mes y estás hablando mejor que nada. Because once they learn it, once you reach a certain level of proficiency, even if you might feel a little weaker at any time or whatnot, or because you're not using it a lot, because if you don't use a language, it will get weak.
True.
Right? So, but it doesn't go away.
No.
So it's not gone.
No.
It's just
like riding a bike.
For that
like riding a bike.
Exactly.
Expression, hace falta usarlo. Pero no es una situación que it
from scratch. No, it's not from scratch. No.
And let me tell you something, even as adults, I mean, there are times when I have to call my sister y le digo, oye, no puedo pensar en esta palabra, I can't remember the words. And so I started doing this a couple of years ago because my whole life was writing. You guys know, I was writing manuscripts and everything was in English with sprinkled Spanish words here and there, but I do so much writing in English and my husband doesn't speak Spanish that one day I was like, I need to change this a little bit. So I started watching series on Netflix or wherever in Espanol, even if they're dubbed, but most
la práctica.
Or the Mexicans or, las españolas, pero aunque estuvieran dobladas en español, todo lo que veo, lo veo en español because I wanted my brain to get like adjusted to listening to stuff in Spanish. And, consequently, I wrote 2 stories only in Spanish. And I want to do more of that. Pero como adulto, a veces, I remember my mother telling me, someday you're going to lose the Spanish, but you continue speaking English only. I'm like, no se me va a olvidar, no te preocupes.
Pero pasa.
The first time I dreamt in English, I woke up thinking, oops, my mom was right.
Oh my gosh, how funny. Well, let's wrap it up by talking about what are some ways that parents can start teaching literacy at home. I have one, and obviously, Olga, you're the expert, but I have something that has always worked with my kids that I love to do. Well, music, obviously, number one, because that's a winner. But we do this thing with my kids. Since they're very little, I like to start saying words, especially when we're driving, because it's, we're already there and I have their attention. Yeah. And so I'll say things like, abeja, or un avión. And they'll start repeating that. And so by the time we get to letter recognition, when they see the letter, they already have the sound in their mouth. So they'll be able to be like, bonito, or pelota. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that one, I tell parents about it because it's worked. It's so silly, but it's really worked wonders. And now my youngest is doing it. And the other day we were going over the letter A. And so I pointed it out in the book and he said, como abeja. And he said it, and he's 2. So I just thought that was so sweet. But that was my, that's like my number one tip for starting really little. not to start practicing that. Pero Olga, tú dinos, what do you think are some
Mira,
of the
pero
ways?
lo que me estás contando es lo que yo diría primeramente, es que lo hagan como un juego, ¿no? Que lo hagan como un juego, que no sea algo
Libro.
como académico, como que it's a drag, que sea como un juego, que sea, como dices tú, algo ya están leyendo y tú ves esas oportunidades en el libro ya allí, ¿no? No es que sea que vas a preparar una lección, pero ya naturalmente leyendo ese libro, pues puedes empezar incluso con vocabulario, ¿no? Si el libro, no sé, tiene diferentes formas, aunque no sea un libro de formas, pero a lo mejor están hablando de círculos y triángulos y luego puedes decir, ay, mira, ¿sabes lo que veo? Aquí veo un círculo. A ver, vamos a hacer un juego. Vamos a ver en cada página, vamos a leer el cuento a ver si encuentras un círculo. Sabes que hay muchas maneras de como, what we say in English, like you integrate. I don't know if in Spanish se integrar, ¿no? Sí, integrar. Y ves ahí un momento donde uno se dice en español, pero que sea como un juego, ¿no? La otra cosa era lo que había dicho antes de I'm going to say it's from English, like don't shy away from o no tengan miedo de leerles libros que ellos no pueden leer, ¿sabes? Que sean demasiado. El vocabulario, porque eso desarrolla vocabulario y eso es sumamente importante. Si ellos antes de llegar al colegio ya tienen como un vocabulario en español
rico.
bien rico, bien para un niño
establecido.
de 5 años, exactamente. Eso les ayudará con el inglés y ya tienen como una base fuerte con el español, que para uno será más fácil seguir esa onda, ¿no? Y eso viene con el vocabulario que ellos oyen en los libros, como les digo, leer en voz alta. Si quieres empezar con la identificación del nombre de las letras y el sonido, también creo que habías mencionado música. Sí. Hay videos hoy en día el montón que ellos pueden ver, son el que me viene a la mente es monosílabo, que sí, también sí, es súper chistoso, creativo, ¿no? Y es una caricatura que les encanta.
Sencilla, la verdad.
Y también es una forma de que ellos como naturalmente, sin que sea, ¿cómo te diré? Sí, como que es parte de su día. Parte de su día es, vamos a ver y hay otros también, no solamente monosílabo, pero canciones del abecedario, como dices, estamos en el carro, vamos a cantar la canción del abecedario, y es lo que yo les recomiendo y creo que lo que funciona con los chiquitos, para que no solamente aprendan, pero también estén desarrollando como ese amor por el idioma.
Exacto. Yeah. A mí lo que me gusta también hacer, ahora que dijiste lo de las figuras y las formas en un libro, yo agarré con mi hijo más chiquito y obviamente sin forzar y pasarme 15 minutos haciéndolo, tiene 2 años. Yeah. Pero, por ejemplo, vemos la letra O, entonces en todas las páginas, mira, hay otra O, puedes ver otra donde hay otra, en algún libro que tenga la letra bastante grande para que él busque la letra y la vaya asociando. La otra cosa que me gusta hacer es decir, en vez del nombre de la letra, and people are going to come after this for me, but to just teach them the sound of the letter first, because I feel like we get caught up in like como what I call the ABCs, but I feel I have found it a lot more valuable to teach them the sound of the letter, so when they see it, they know what it sounds like, and later they learn the name of the letter, which is honestly, unless you're spelling out loud, it's almost irrelevant at the early stages. But them knowing what the sound is, and this has a name, can you tell me what this is? Because I've seen people sing, I want to say I've seen this online in English, not in Spanish, but I've seen them sing the whole ABC song, but with the sounds of the letters instead of.
Okay, I haven't seen that. No,
it's really neat. Yeah, and again, I was doing it before I saw that, which I thought I should have known, but I should come up with a Spanish one because I hadn't seen it in Spanish. But they just, by the time they recognize the letter, they recognize they associate it with the sound rather than the name of the letter. So that's really worked out well for us too.
Y la otra cosa, you know, to think about, and I don't, not with little ones, right? But that eventually you want them writing, right? So it's all 4 domains of language that we're looking at them developing, right? And so I think what you mentioned, like the letter names, then when we get into that point where they're starting to spell words out, and you want them to spell it out, naming the letters, then that comes in at that time. Pero se me ocurrió otra cosa hablando de juegos que me encanta y que yo lo tenía con mis hijos y era ponerles letras magnéticas.
I see.
La nevera.
Yes, I have some. Yes.
And so I could be cooking and their letters are on that. Y vamos, como se me ocurrió cuando hablaste de la O, que uno puede así de pasada. Ahí están las letras, no se ponen a jugar y, ¡ay, pues, muéstrame dónde está la O! O si están empezando con sílabas, júntame las letras para que dicen ma, por ejemplo. Busca las que dicen ma, y hacerlo así también. Y tiempos cortos, también lo que habías dicho, de 15 minutos, 10 minutos. Y esos minutos van...
Sumando.
Exacto, sumando y ya.
Y súper importante en español para decirle a los papás, once the child knows the letters, I mean the vowels and knows the sounds of the vowels and then a few consonants, they can start blending. Like you don't need to wait for them to know every single. That's what I love about it too. O sea, they know the and the p, they can start doing ma, pa, you know, you can start and they can already write mapa and mama, you know, and that's what builds confidence, I feel like.
You don't have to wait at all. No.
Exacto. And I love that about you know, reading in Spanish because it just almost happens quickly. And once they make those connections of blending the syllables and the syllables becoming words, they just get excited about reading quickly. Mm-hmm. And so that's what made me I could see it in my son, you know, like he's putting words together and he was just stoked that he could do that on his own. So that's another great reason to love Spanish first, let's just call it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you one last question. What is one thing you wish that every Spanish-speaking parent knew about teaching their kids how to read in their heritage language?
The first thing that came to mind was Si Se Puede.
¿Está esa cuenta?
Mira, Si Se Puede. Y si no somos nosotros.
¿Quién?
¿Quién? Exacto, ¿quién? Y no one else is going to care more. I mean, you know, I'm bilingual teacher, lifelong bilingual teacher, and I love my students, and I cared about my students, but it was my 100% commitment to my girls that they speak Spanish first, that they learn how to read Spanish first, and I promise parents, se los prometo del corazón y de lo que sé de los años que he estudiado esto. Ellos van a poder desarrollar el inglés. Y el inglés si viene después, no va a haber ningún problema. Y vamos a decir, si llegan del colegio, ay, es que yo no entiendo y no sé qué, no sé cuánto. Uno puede empezar, pero ya tú sabes muchas cosas. Lo que no, tú crees que no, pero sí. Y ahí algo les puedes decir, mira, tú ya conoces el sonido de todas estas letras, en inglés son iguales. Y ya, para darle, porque hay veces que sí se sienten como que yo no puedo hacer lo que hacen ellos, ¿no? Y mi hija mayor en particular, I mean, she really was Spanish only cuando empezó kinder. Y tuve con ella, pues darle un poquito de confianza y eso, porque ella sabía que habían otros en el salón que... Bueno, y cuando la llevaba al parque también pasaba lo mismo.
Obvio, nos pasa, of course. But we gotta build
and that's okay. That's okay.
Of course.
But the other thing I just say just for a second is that if the kids struggle a little bit, whether it's with Spanish or English, it's okay. It's okay. Productive struggle, what we call productive struggle, is okay. They don't have to say it perfectly, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be continuous. So yo les diré a los papás, esa no me sale, ni en inglés ni en español me sale. Es sumamente importante. It can't just be a Saturday morning thing.
Right. No, y además we can't switch to English just because now I see, and we've had an episode about this. I see my child struggling in school now, so I'm going to switch to English.
No.
And it's like now they lost every single piece of the foundation that they had, right? They started this huge transition to start in school. Now you're switching languages on them, and it's like, I feel like it's such a backtrack to do that. It's pure panic.
So it makes me think of two things, like as a final thought, right? Is sí se puede and stay the course.
Stay the course. I always tell
Stay the course, and you will see the benefits down the road. You might not see them that day, you might not see them that year, but
Pero no tengan miedo.
No, y es también importante recordar que, por ejemplo, tú que tienes 2 niños en casa, Olga, tú también, yo tenía 2, que no los 2 niños van van a aprender al mismo ritmo. O sea,
no.
Hay que estar pendiente de esos y no esperar, porque el mayor lo domina bien, que el chiquito también lo va a hacer. O sea, el chiquito va a llegar ahí, pero, we have to just kind of like keep mind that they both learn at different times, they both develop at different times, and the same with the language development.
Absolutely. My girls are 18 months apart, same parents, same environment, practically the same teachers, K-12, 2 very different trajectories of becoming bilingual, biliterate, but they are both fluent bilingual, they're both fluent in both languages today, but their trajectories were very different. And not just in developing Spanish, but just as students, right? Like one of them, my oldest, school was hard for her. And my younger one, she could, read, she can go into a test revising her notes en español y en inglés. Y se sacaba like the top grade. So very different experiences in like just schooling, but also in their development of the 2 languages. But stay the course.
Yep.
Stay the course.
Backtrack. One. And remember that reading in Spanish is identity as well. I think that's so
connects them with, yes, it's showing them the important, it is identity. That's the perfect word. It's creating that identity that then connects them to their heritage, to their family, to who they are. And so there's no negatives.
No.
Yo te podría decir, no, pero sabes que hay no hay ni uno. No hay ni uno.
Al contrario.
No hay ni uno. Incluso, I know we're running out of time, but even kids that, let's say at 3 years old, they needed some speech therapy and they have an IEP, they can be bilingual too. It might take them a little longer. It might take them a little longer, but their trajectory might look a little different, but they can do it too. So you just have to stay the course and bring English a little bit down from its pedestal.
Yeah.
English is important.
Yeah.
But sometimes we need to bring it down a little bit from the pedestal that it's on and really value both of the languages equally, because they really are both equally important.
And be an advocate. Be an advocate for Spanish when the kids are in school. Que también, porque hay veces que, the school system, they value English that más. Entonces, we as parents that want our kids to continue with their Spanish, we need to be that advocate.
Right.
Before we leave, I want to tell you a story because it's about reading and how it transfers. In Puerto Rico, like my nephew, he's still going to school, everything in Spanish still. Está en primer grado, so they haven't started things in English yet. Pero, y él sabe leer muy bien el español. He is teaching himself to read in English. In English. My sister sent me a video. I don't know if you guys saw it. I put it in the stories. Y él me dice mi sobrina que he watches the cartoons in English because they do it.
Es al revés. Al
revés. Yeah.
So by watching the cartoons and doing like a little game in the apps, se sentó el otro día and he was reading a story in English. Y my sister, no one's teaching him. He is transferring what he knows in Spanish to reading in English. So ahí les dejo a todos para que sepan que sí se puede.
Se puede. Sí, mira, con mínimo esfuerzo, pretty much.
Yeah.
La verdad. Wow, I love that. Muchísimas gracias a las dos. Olga, ha sido un gusto. I could talk about this all day. I think language is fascinating and literacy is fascinating. So I love this. But thank you so much for your expertise. Y gracias a ti también, Mari. Y les mando un beso enorme.
Bueno, gracias a todos.
Gracias a todos.
Besos. Bye.
Bye.